Hello, hello, and welcome to today's What If. This What If video is going to be very big and have a very grand scale, so sit tight and enjoy the ride. Before we start, I do just want to mention that this is how I believe the events would go down in the in-universe, excluding anything that the BBC or really any production company would ever probably dream of doing. But if you have any other ideas, be sure to let me know down below. Our story begins with the family of blood. At the beginning of this episode, Martha holds them at gunpoint, and usually she decides not to shoot them and move along. But this time, she chooses otherwise. Martha takes a longer time to think over her choices. This means the family of blood also get more time to speak to her, and Martha hears out what they say and realises how horrible and how nasty these creatures really are. The family begin to close in on Martha, believing that she would not have shot them, that she wouldn't shoot them, otherwise she would have done it already by now. Now they get closer and closer and closer until, bang, Martha fired. The family then immediately shoot Martha's hand, causing her to drop the gun. It doesn't disintegrate her hand, it just kind of buzzes it a little bit. A member of the family then uses their gun and pushes it right against Martha's head. She screams, closes her eyes in fear, and again, bang, another shot fired. But to Martha's surprise, she was still alive, and as she took longer to think about her scenario, the school therefore had more time to prepare. They sent a small squad of boys instructed by the doctor and matron to assist Martha and return her to the building. These boys, luckily for Martha, had brilliant aim and managed to kill the family of blood before they killed Martha. Martha and the boys then returned to the school, and now all she had to do was find the watch. However, now there was no threat to stop, no one to save. John Smith had no reason to want or need to open it. Martha tried and tried to convince him to help her find the watch and open it, but he or matron just wouldn't. After hours of searching, she realised that the boy had it. But having seen Martha kill her hostage, he was not going to hand this over so easily. They chased each other into the fields at night and pushed and pulled until they rolled down a hill, dropping the watch. It was at this point that our story can take two turns. I'm going to go with option 1, where Martha grabs the watch, but if you want the other option where the boy grabs the watch, just let me know and I'll be sure to make that too. Martha rushes towards the watch, but as she does, the boy pulls on her leg and she falls over. This allows him to quickly grab it, and as Martha charges towards him, he opens it directly at her, hoping that the light will deter her away. However, Martha doesn't just look into the light, but the light looks into her. The watch begins to burn with immense heat, and the boy drops it before he could close it. The energy leaves Martha and enters her, just like how the energy did with Donna in Journey's End. Martha was now Dr. Martha Jones, quite literally in this case. Martha collapsed onto the muddy ground below, and the boy quickly grabbed the watch and ran off further into the fields, finding the TARDIS and entering it as he assumed this would be the safest place to stay, not knowing whether or not the scarecrows had been defeated, which they had been by this point. Martha awoke. Due to the watch having different properties to the doctor's hand, she didn't go into overload like Donna did, and instead survived and continued. Martha returned to the TARDIS now with the Doctor's consciousness and regeneration abilities. She travelled through time, fighting off against the Weeping Angels, the Silurians on a mining field, and Daleks in World War II, and far, far more. After this time in the TARDIS, it needed to refuel, so she went off to Cardiff Bay. She opened the TARDIS engines and the ship absorbed the energy from the rift. This was until, of course, they met a certain Captain Jack Harkness. Just as in Utopia, the Doctor, but obviously now as Martha, dematerialised, but not before Jack jumped onto the TARDIS, holding on for dear life. The pair fell through time all the way to the end of the universe. Utopia continued pretty much as normal, all the way up till the sound of drums. Jack and the Doctor, again as Martha, had to escape the Master and find a way to combat his plans on the Valiant. During the Master's time on board the TARDIS while making the Paradox Machine, he met a young boy. This boy was of course the same one from the family of blood. The same boy who had the fob watch, not the actual family of blood. The boy explained everything to the Master, explaining how the Doctor was not originally in Martha's form and was instead in another body. This shift in the timeline causes time to weaken, allowing the Master to now travel further back in time using the paradox machine. The events of this episode again continue as normal. However, now both Jack and the Doctor, as Martha, manage to escape, and they survive on Earth for 4 months, creating small resistance groups in every country they can. However, it has no real effect. The Master then makes a broadcast, showing how he has taken the old Doctor, as John Smith, and his now wife Matron hostage, and unless the Doctor, as Martha and Jack, return, they will be killed, and the Toclafane will also invade the past. Jack and Martha quickly return to the ship. They are arrested just as Martha's family was in the original episode, Last of the Time Lords. The boy who has been working alongside the Master realises now how evil he is, what he has done to this future Earth, what he's going to do, and what he has done in his past lives. The boy manages to just get a quick 1-minute talk with Jack while a solar flare interrupts power on the Valiant. Jack explains how if everyone knows who the Doctor is, it can break the Archangel network. However, the power returns before Jack can say more, and guards drag him away. But as he's getting dragged away, Jack screams, "Use the hand!" And then, of course, they put a bullet in his head just for him to come back alive moments later. The boy thinks back to his time on the TARDIS and remember how Jack gave the Doctor, as Martha, a hand of his previous body. During the night, he sneaks on board and locates this. As he gets closer and closer, he begins to feel a burning sensation in his pocket. Could it be? Yes, it is. It's the watch. The boy kept the watch all this time, and now the hand recognised the leftover Time Lord traces. The energy of the hand exploded and forced itself into the watch. The boy, now once more, had the essence of the Doctor in his hands. Several months passed, and we were now 1 year after the invasion. The Master has the Doctor, as Martha, John Smith, Matron, Lucy Saxon, Jack, all in front of him, while they wait for the ticking clock to stop ticking, and the boy stands beside the Master. The Master gave this boy the honours to command the Toclafane to attack the universe and launch the rockets with the black hole converters. He moved over to the panels, looking at the Master, looking at John Smith and then the Doctor, and then again looking back at his own reflection. He activates the kill switch, disabling all of the Toclafane. The Master never could trust anybody. He throws the watch over to Jack, who is next to John Smith. Jack, being immortal, can withstand the heat of the watch when activated. He holds it open, sending the light into John Smith. The same energy is replicated through Archangel, breaking the spell. Now there are 2 Doctors, both with the 10th Doctor's minds and regenerative abilities. One is on John Smith's form, being the original 10th Doctor, and now in Martha's form. The Master rushes over when suddenly he falls flat on his face, dead. The boy killed the Master with his own laser sonic screwdriver. After all, he was given access with his biomorphic controls. Time is reversed as usual, and now peace is restored. The 2 Doctors travel together for decades, solving mysteries, murders, fighting monsters, and so much more. So that's what happens if Martha killed the family of blood. It eventually leads to 2 Doctors, both able to regenerate, and maybe even both getting their own TARDIS eventually, rather than just sharing the one. If you have any more ideas for the What If videos, let me know down below. And if you would like to see the alternative to this, where the boy gets the watch power instead of Martha, then let me know that too. Thanks for watching everybody, and I hope you have a lovely day, night, or wherever you are in the world. Bye bye.